You know, this Nolan Wells case is proving something that we've been saying for a long time. In order for us to get justice, all the things that we actually have to go through in this country as foundational Black Americans, or just even when you come here and you try to ingratiate yourself over there with them folks and something go bad, what you have to do as a Black person and just to get justice, period, right? You have there automatically becomes a racial divide where all of a sudden a lot of W folks that was your friends are no longer your friends. Some of them stay with you, some of them do rock with you. I give them credit because you do have some W riders, right? But the media outlets, all these different things, whenever it goes national, they are against you. Now we have TMZ, right? And TMZ, they tried to act like they was with us at first, right? But if you sit back and take the emotion out and you just listen, you just see all the holes that you can poke in when dealing with TMZ and the way that they're carrying on with this story, right? Now they had the brother Trent Out Loud on the show, and he just really just broke down and exposed a lot of holes, a lot of things that they're doing using their platform to make the people in Mississippi look like they're innocent, right? When none of the facts have come out, right? But this thing is getting real crazy.
TMZ Live in the Nolan Wells case, I think a very significant development. The Mississippi State Medical Examiner has completed the autopsy on Nolan Wells. We told you that there was a second autopsy. Actually, it was completed before the first one and done by the family. And the cause of death there was undetermined, although according to the family lawyer, Ben Crump, the medical examiner they used privately did not rule out foul play, but on the other hand, apparently has not found foul play. There was a discoloration on his skull, which could involve foul play, but it also could be something like blood pooling when the body was on a slab at the morgue. So we don't know. Right now, there are really no conclusions, at least that have been made public. The official autopsy results remain sealed. They will not be released probably for a while because the DA has already said this case is going to go before a grand jury.
So we'll start with the investigative phase. To your point, they can compel witnesses to provide information or to testify. They can also compel individuals to give records up to the investigative grand jury as well.
Now, I always tell my subscribers and my supporters to always take the emotion out and pay attention. Do not always be cerebral when dealing with these people, right? Because they play mind control games and they bank on you being overly emotional and traumatized. And that's how they infiltrate and get away with the things that they do, right? Because what they do, they don't have no emotions or feelings. They don't care, right? You do. They know that and they play on that. So this is the thing. This is the play, right? They've been withholding so much information that should be public, right? Now, and they're doing it under the guise of saying that there's an investigation going on, right? So now what you're starting to hear with the major platforms is this may have been an accident. He may have been inebriated to the point where he couldn't protect himself, right? And he could have fell in the water. There's a whole lot of narratives that they're starting to spin and run, and TMZ is one of the main ones that's helping perpetuate these narratives, right? So with me, I've never accused anybody of anything. I've never been emotional about it. I'm just sitting back and I'm listening and I'm watching, right? I'm not saying who did what because I like to keep the integrity of my channel, and I can't be like other channels. Even though I have my own personal thoughts, but because I don't have all the facts and information, I have to be real careful in what I'm saying. But what I can tell you is watch the spin that these platforms are doing now, because they've been given their marching orders.
Which could open up things like text records. I know that they can get those from the phone companies without the grand jury, but it makes it a lot easier to be able to go directly to the source to get information that they might want as an investigative matter. Then, depending on what they find, to your point, they can absolutely convert that into an indicting grand jury, and they can try to get indictments against any potential wrongdoers.
Or, and we have to say this, and I think it's important to say, or they can conclude this was a tragic accident and that there's no criminality. And I think people have got to remember that is an absolute possibility on the table here, because there's been a lot of chatter online and by, by various people, who have gone to the media, but there is no clear path right now to any criminality that at least has been disclosed, except for one thing. There's already been an arrest, but the arrest doesn't have to do with Nolan
not
Wells.
related. Yeah.
Right. Now I want y'all to pay attention, right? Now there was an arrest made because you have some rogue people, weirdos online, and that's not the majority of black folks. The majority of folks that believe that these people are guilty. They're not online sending crazy messages to the judge, the family. They're not. Now you have people doing that, and the FBI is going out there arresting these people, right? But remember, TMZ is using their platform to run the narrative that these families are being threatened and their lives are in danger. This is what they're doing. Pay attention. Take the emotion out. They want you to be emotional, right? What they're not covering or running is the actual parent who lost the child. She's been harassed as well. Not one sentence about her because they're running the play. They're running the narrative. But if you're emotional and angry, you can't see this. You're going to bypass it, right? Now, whoever that person was stupid enough to send that to that judge or whatever and get locked up, that's on them. They're dumb. They're dumb. You don't know Nolan. You don't know what happened. You don't have all the information. You're being traumatized and over. Now you're locked up in the feds with no bail, right? For somebody that you don't know and you don't have all the facts for. Let's wait and find out what happened, right? Let it go through the process. Because remember, you can be upset, but you still got your own family to take care of, right? So we can clearly see what they're doing, but we know that the mom had to change her number. They was calling her job. They was giving her bad reviews. They was doing all kinds of things. But again, these platforms, all you got to do is pay attention.
Know that all the boys that were originally a part of the 3 boats that went out to Horn Island on 4th of July with Nolan, all those boys, we're told, have been cooperated behind the scenes with police, but have been receiving an overwhelming amount of threats, not just them, but also their family as well. The family of Warren Hudson, specifically his mother, who is a judge who, the internet uncovered pretty early on when trying to piece together all the pieces of this case. She, we're told, got a lot of threats, specifically from this one man who is known as a Sacramento area man, was arrested. And we know that the FBI had been looking into a lot of these threats. A lot of the families have been threatened, some of them credible, some of them not. But they are showing that this is very serious. They're taking these threats very seriously, and this man is behind bars.
And there is something else that...
These boys, why did they leave him on the island? What happened? Talking about the audio, that dispatch audio that we had obtained, which was the dispatch audio to Cito when one of the boats was sinking, and you could possibly hear stuff going on in the background.
Here's the stuff in the background that's important, that there's a lot of talk that they said the word Nolan and he's dead. And if you try and hear that, maybe you can. But what we've kind of concluded based on video that we received is that Nolan was not on that boat, that's the boat at the beginning of the trip back from Horn Island.
Yeah.
And that Nolan is not on that boat, and that's the boat that went into distress a few minutes after leaving Horn Island. Nolan was not on that boat. ABC News is saying that authorities have said that there are 2 witnesses they've talked to that placed Nolan on the island as late as 6 o'clock in the evening, long after that boat left, and that he had been drinking heavily.
Now, again, we pay attention with no emotion. Now he's running the play about him being drunk and about him not being on that boat, right? So now remember the audio, and everybody's running that audio. They're using their platform to say, listen, that audio smartio. We have confirmation that he was not on that boat, and he was seen around 6, and he was inebriated to the point where he couldn't even stand up. Now we know that that's been debunked because the coach That they never brought up the coach. Remember, his coach said he saw him and he wasn't drunk. He was very, very coherent and was talking and everything. The mom also ran with that. They're running with what Brandon Tatum said when Brandon Tatum saw the people, because they are using their platform to put this family in a positive light. They also, you saw when they talked about the judge and how she was being attacked, but never brought up what the actual deceased parent was going through. See what I'm saying? They don't deal with emotions and feelings. This is their agenda narrative. This is what they do, right? So then they get to the autopsy. They were saying that knowing the state of Mississippi, with all the things that Mississippi has been accused of and all the bodies that drop in Mississippi from black people, he's saying that they don't need to be transparent. They need to be as quiet as they can be and just give out the information, and we just got to take it for what it is. Now the brother Trent out now, he comes on and really, starts to unpack some of this stuff.
Now, I don't think that leads to any particular conclusion, except that it seems to basically eliminate those kids from anything that ultimately may have happened to Nolan, if it's all true that he stayed behind on the island, was drinking, people saw him, and the boat had long gone by that point, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't mean that somebody did not contribute to his death. It's, we're still looking at all the facts and hearing all the tips, but it's just exactly what you said, Harvey, excluding all the boys who had originally been accused on social media of having something to do with his death. It kind of eliminates that.
This is exactly why the DA needs to act as quickly as it can, do a thorough investigation, and then be completely transparent. Because unless all that happens,
I disagree with you. The DA should not be driven by a flurry on social media, because that leads to bad investigations.
I want a good investigation, but the public outcry is going to be too great unless we come up full transparency here of exactly what they found.
If the DA starts to bend to social media, God help us.
Hey, this is Trent Out Loud, YouTuber. I think the judge threats and the Benjamin Crump defamation lawsuit is just a distraction. I think it's incredibly telling that a white woman goes out and shows us the threats she's getting, and within days there is an arrest, but there has been zero arrest when it comes to the Nolan Xavier Wells case. Do you have any idea how many threats Christine has gotten? How come there's nobody arresting for the people that are threatening her?
Oh, listen, you first have to determine if there's foul play, right? And I don't know that they've determined that yet. So you don't go out and start arresting people until you know, A, if there's foul play, and B, who did it. But just because there hasn't been doesn't mean there's not a real investigation behind it.
Agreed. But now let's talk about that picture that you showed up of the boat. We got that picture from Officer Tatum, former Officer Tatum. How do we know when that picture was taken? We have no metadata. We have no proof. How do we know that? And also,
well, no, but what the video? It's not a pic. We're talking about.
Well, he put out pictures and video. But
I know, but the video, we can align the video with the distress call, and he wasn't on that boat.
Yeah, but Harvey, how do you know? Has former Officer Tatum, has he provided you guys with the metadata? Do you know 100% when that video and those pictures were taken? Can you confirm to me right now that it was taken on July the 4th?
That's what we have concluded based on everything we've looked at, metadata, talking to people, and aligning it with the distress call, yeah. Now, look, anything is possible. I'm certainly not saying it wasn't foul play, because I don't know. It's just, I think, jumping to conclusions at the beginning and starting to point fingers at people without really knowing. It may be fair, but what if it's really unfair and you're kind of tarnishing people who really shouldn't be tarnished? Shouldn't that be a concern?
I think if anybody who jumped to conclusions first was the Mississippi officers that jumped to conclusions 1 hour after finding his body and said, no evidence of foul play. They jumped to conclusions, not us.
Well, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
They just want the truth.
I think that's fair. I also think there is a spotlight on them right now, and they know they better do a thorough investigation.
Now, you see what happens when you remove the emotions and you talk clear, you understand the people that you're talking to, you understand their mindset and the way that they operate, how you unpack them. And now he said from their conclusions, not the police, not the FBI, not sitting down and investigating. No, just from wherever they at. This is what they came up with: hogwash, right? They got that from Brandon Tatum, and they running with that narrative. He also says you shouldn't be pointing fingers and accusing people, right? Fair enough. Fair enough, right? But the people have every right to feel the way they feel when just the day after the Mississippi police said we see no foul play, and you got upset when they brought in Benjamin Crump and Sharpton, right? You got upset because it went against the play that you was trying to run. You got exposed. Then you have the W woman judge who gets some threats, and y'all make arrests right away. But did you notice how he never answered the question about Nolan's mother getting the arrest and there was no arrest made? He never said anything because they're running the play. Pay attention. See, because most people would have went off, yeah, see, they locked them people up when they threatened that W woman, right? No, you don't say anything. You just sit and you listen. Right, we see this. This is nothing new. This is their protocol. But when it comes to Nolan Wells' mom, there's been no arrests, right? When she's been getting threats as well, right? We know this, right? So he unpacked him like luggage because he know that he's running the play. He know that they're lying. He know that they're up there to do their job, and that's what they're doing. But again, my subscribers and the public, y'all let me know what y'all think. What's your opinion? No emotional comments. Stop being so triggered and so emotional and pay attention. And everything will be revealed to you. That's it. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV. Leave your comments in the comment section. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.